Buenos dias, homies. I'm here in Magnolia Ridge Park, somewhere near Jasper, Texas. Don't worry, I survived. It's all good. Anyway, I was here because I'm just kind of like chilling out in nature. I needed my own respite too. I like to make sure that I'm reconnecting and also getting a chance to hang out with my homie Ashley and Leo, who happen to be here. They're back over that way. They're being so silent and nice. And then, of course, my dog Gus is here too. We had a really good time. There was a little bit of rain this morning, and we're lucky right now that it is, the sun's out. And we got a chance to really camp in the cold. Ashley and I did that in Colorado, but it wasn't, I don't feel like it was about this level of cold, but we were definitely more prepared this time around and understanding like what we needed to do, or at least me. Ashley seems like a pro now at this stuff. So still learning. It's always a good thing. So I was just talking to one of the homies about, one of my worst day. Okay. So my worst day changed my life forever. And it made me reevaluate the way I looked at the world. So my worst day was in 2008, and I went into work. I was working in a facility for juvenile offenders, and I went to help out with a riot, and it was most definitely what you expect in a riot: chaos. And I got hurt. And at that time, I thought I was invincible. I didn't think anything could hurt me or make me entirely change what I wanted to do with my life. And it did. I was on track to be a therapist, to be a professional counselor. And I wanted to help people in that sense. And when that happened, I didn't want to help anybody. I didn't even want to help myself. And that's hard to say, even now. And think about that. That was in 2008. And when I talk about it, it's like everything bubbles back up again. And it's not something that you get past. It's not something that you just forget about. And it's not something that you can hide either. Because there are things that can trigger you and things that you avoid, or things that you make sure that you stay away from. Situations, people, places, reminders of that time. And it was really hard. It still is. Because I don't really remember who I was during that moment of time. I just know that I was different. I know that maybe I didn't feel like I needed to care about other people as much, or myself, like I said. But I had to snap out of it, in a sense, and come back to reality of the deep person about who I am, right? So that person that wants to help people, that person that wants to be there for others, that person that wants to make a difference. And camp really helped me. So I talk about how I work with burn survivors, and I had already been working with burn survivors for a minute there, and it was the one place that always was a constant, and that has been that light of a focal point in my life that keeps me grounded, that reminds me that I have something bigger and some bigger purpose to attribute to. I mean, it helped me to remember that I that I have to go on, that I have to pick myself back up again. And it may hurt, and I may feel exhausted. I may feel like there's a day that I don't want to get up. There's always like a reason to. And camp was that. These kids would come and, we put on, one of my mentors, Uncle Larry, we talk about how we take the show on the road and how I always like pack up my vehicle and bring it, like when I was, living back here in Texas and then going to the camp. He talked about how I'd pack up and like bring the show on the road. And it's expected, and not necessarily that it's like, if I don't do this, things aren't gonna go well, but if I don't do this, there's a little bit of shine that's not there, that the kids have grown to love. The kids have grown to see that they're not, with your imperfections, like they can be themselves. I talk about being myself all the time, and there are moments that I hide some of this. One, because there's always somebody that's looking at you as a role model, and you don't necessarily want to disappoint people, but you also want to show people how strong they can be too, in maybe some of the worst situations that they'll ever face. And that's why camp was important to me, because it helped me to see that, like, in the most horrible time in my life, that I could still get up, that I could still motivate myself and other people. And it wasn't always like, it wasn't always great, but it felt great afterwards. And it still feels great to this day. I will forever, or as long as I can, continue to pour myself into the camps that I volunteer for, because I feel like I get more out of it than anybody realizes. Like, yes, we help kids, and yes, we help kids that are really in need at that time. But it also fills my soul, and it helps me to keep remembering that there's always light. There's always glitter. I always talk about that, and how there's a woodpecker. It's my ADHD. There's always something that's worth making this world great. And that's why camps are important to me, and why they've helped fuel me on my darkest days. Thanks for listening.